Welcome back, Mistakes listeners. This is Dave, and this would be episode 41. We recorded this episode on December 5th, 2015. The show that we watched was an Australian show called Little Lunch, and it's great. I'll just get right to it. You can follow us on Twitter at Parent Mistakes, and you can like us on Facebook at Parenting Mistakes. And as always, sit back and enjoy the show.
So I got another quiz for Dave.
Oh, yeah. I'm ready.
You ready?
I have been prepping.
Have you?
Because, I had a week and a half off, and so...
You've been studying?
I have been studying.
Good.
So I'm ready. I
don't know how you study for random pop quizzes from Todd, but that's okay.
Oh, you know how you do it? My mom bought me a book of 2,500 Star Trek questions.
Okay.
And it's just a random quiz book. It has a little computer on it that puts a number. You have to go to the question's number, and then you answer it.
Okay.
And right now, out of 150 Star Trek questions, I'm at 70%.
So that's like a C minus.
No, it's 70%
like
out of 100.
Yeah, that's a C minus.
This is like.
You're a fan.
I am a huge Star Trek nerd.
Well, if you're a huge Star Trek nerd, you're getting a C minus on the test.
Well, I had to tell you, where I'm struggling? The animated series. And this is going to sound really weird.
It's on Netflix.
I have not watched the third season, or I think there's only 2 seasons. I've not watched the second season of the animated series because I've always wanted to just hold on to the fact that there's Star Trek out there I've never watched.
So you're going to wait till you're like really old and you're in the hospital and you're on hospice care and you say it's time.
Get me the iPad. The wing things we had in the aughts. I need the iPad now to watch the second season.
By that point, it's just going to be like a bunch of electrons in the air. You're just going to sort of draw the screen with your finger and watch it.
Give me Star Trek animated.
Okay, so this is always future stuff. And
right, and again, Star Trek, right?
Yeah, future stuff. There you go.
Future pop quiz.
Yeah. Okay, so catch people up. I'm Todd. That's Dave. We've been friends since junior high.
Yes, we
have.
He
lives in Seattle. I live in Los Angeles. We are the same age. I'm a few months older. I got cranking on kids a little earlier than Dave, and so my kids are older. And Dave's are a little younger, which is good because it provides a good contrast for this. So, Kayleen is 6. Yes?
Yeah, you got it. You got this every time. Maddie is 3. Yep.
Okay. So Kayleen's 6. 12 years from now, when Kayleen is, we'll say 11 years from now, Kayleen is 17. She is a senior in high school. She wants to go to she's going to the Sadie Hawkins dance with a boy that she's invited. And the dance ends at 11, and she wants to go hang out with some friends afterwards. What time will you require her to be home?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock?
Yeah.
Is that your final answer?
Well, okay, so is there a right or wrong to this? Is this like the Star Trek book, dude? It's like
multiple choice.
That's right. What are my times? Is it 11? 12?
None of the above.
None of the above. It depends on circumstance. Is she hanging out with said dude? Right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, good.
Right? Okay, so I had to do a parent investigation to get my answer right.
Hey, you know.
Oh my goodness, I shot, and now I'm answering for it later.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my word. Yeah, my parents, so I'm basing this on what my parents told me. They said on a special occasion, evening 1, usually I had to be home by midnight.
Okay. Now, this is a tough one, and here's my sort of take on this, is that we parent in some ways similar to how we were parented.
Yes, that's true. Although you guys, I'm shocked that you guys are not chaperoning this thing. You guys usually always chaperone these things.
We have, because my wife's a teacher at the school, so we have chaperoned the school part of it, we don't chaperone after parties unless they're at our house, which they have
Right,
also been.
which you've done that before as well.
We have done that. Well, we did that in high school, and we have continued that tradition. We talked about traditions in a previous episode.
Yeah,
our
that's
house, our house has become a hangout house, which is cool, because my house was kind of a hangout house. Your house was kind of a hangout house as well.
That's true.
So,
Except you guys have a really cool garage now.
we do. We have a cool garage.
As a teenager, that would have been awesome. Can you imagine that?
Well, and it's the go-to place. The teenagers go there.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I remember, and I'm going to have to check with my parents on this, actually. I remember a few times where you and I were out pretty late, like well past midnight, it felt like.
Sure.
And I don't remember my parents giving me a curfew in those situations. And I don't know if it was because they trusted who I was with, you, and Chris, and
Sure.
Devin, and
Greg.
Greg.
Yep.
Whether that played into it, or whether they just sort of picked a number or didn't pick a number at times. It's kind of a strange thing, and it evolves over time. We have found that it evolves over time. We push the time back as our kids get older, just a little bit. So I don't have a great moral to the story there, but it's kind of an interesting phase of life to be in, because I have a senior in high school, and she's going to go to college next year, and she's probably going to go away to school. And once she goes away to school,
yeah, and the minute that happens, I remember hanging out with some ladies till 3 in the morning or 4.
Oh yeah,
until
absolutely.
I was just dead. Yeah. Good grief. So the issue, I mean, if you add the intrigue to this, is that she said she's hanging out with friends, which I'm sure you trust that she's doing that.
Yes.
But there is a boy here. Like, I thought you said, wasn't she dating some dude?
Sort of.
Yeah. Is
Sort
this
of.
the same dude?
It's funny because they were kind of sort of dating a little bit, but not really serious, and then they just stopped. But she asked him to this thing just to kind of go as friends. They're friends.
Okay.
He's not interested in having a girlfriend in high school, which is fine.
Wow.
What?
Who is this kid? Wow, that's amazing.
Okay, but think about this. Think about this. And this is always an interesting thing to watch, because as parents, we always have to allow our kids to kind of do the kid stuff, to live through the kid phases. Like when our kids have significant others, do we go to them and say, oh, and by the way, that's not going to last even though you're all infatuated with that person right now? Because you're in high school, and the statistical likelihood of you hanging out with your sophomore girlfriend or boyfriend forever is very low.
Right. My parents did tell me that, though.
Think about this. You were not always thrilled when I had girlfriends in high school, because they inhibited the ability of the fellas to hang out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this guy that she's dated a few times, he's not really interested in having a girlfriend because he likes to hang out with the fellas and go surfing and, just be guys. And I'm okay with that. I get it. We had lots of fun just being the guys.
Yeah, but man, the drive to have a girlfriend? Wow.
Yeah, well,
And the girls that you dated, dude, whoosh.
I'm going to call each one of them up right now and say, hey, here's Dave's address. You may feel free to go beat him up.
What are you saying? I just said whoosh.
Whoosh. Hey, you know what? I'm still friends with a few of my ex-girlfriends on Facebook, so, you be nice. They could be listening.
Kudos to that guy. I'm impressed. I guess I'll just say I'm impressed. I mean, this obviously our conversation has gone in a totally different direction here.
That's all right.
Yes. I think actually I'm going to say midnight now instead of 1. Can I change my answer after this conversation?
You took your pencil and you scratched out the thing and you.
But I would say, as a dad, this dude that doesn't exactly want to date your daughter, that guy's a keeper.
I like it, son, because you don't want to date my daughter.
That's the guy you want.
I'm glad you're staying away from her.
Because he'll kind of fend off the dudes that really do want to date, right?
I suppose.
Right? because he's got enough self-confidence and alpha male in him to kind of like get the herd away.
There you go.
Yeah.
We did allow her to stay out till 1 o'clock last night, so there you go.
Bam! All right.
Oh, you changed your answer. All right, awkward segue.
Well, I kept on thinking about it, like, oh, Kayleen, but I love Kayleen so much. I don't. Oh no.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah. So, Todd, what's our awkward segue?
So our awkward. Well, I don't have one.
You don't?
Once we're done with our podcast, it might be time for you and I to go find a little bit of lunch.
I am dying to know.
Okay.
I am dying to know, what did you think of Little Lunch? You know what? I'll back up. Our viewers don't even know what we're talking about.
Okay, we got to preview it a little bit.
Yeah, you found this thing out of nowhere.
I did find this show out of nowhere, and you and I both like Netflix just because of the convenience, and Netflix is going to take over the world. Netflix and Amazon are going to just rule everything. Anyway, I found this show. It's an Australian show, and it's called Little Lunch, and it is, I would describe it as The Office as told through the eyes of children hanging out in an elementary school. So it's that format.
Yep.
So you've got a collection of kids. There doesn't seem to be like a main kid. There are focal points. There are kids that are a focal point for an episode, but just a collection of kids, and the show consists of sort of the camera interviewing them and then going back to just little bits and pieces of them being on the playground and being busted for stuff and that sort of thing. But it seems to be centered around their lunchtime.
Little Lunch.
Little Lunch.
I was asking my wife if she knew any Australians that, like, is there a separate lunch, or is it, they just call it, oh, I think I get it now. It's actually their lunchtime, but they're little.
I suppose.
I was thinking along the lines like this must be like 11Cs for hobbits. Like, oh, they must have like a pre-lunch.
Yeah,
but
I
now
don't know.
The more I think about it, I think, no, this is like Little Lunch, like for little people.
Well, maybe, or maybe it is like 11Cs. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know enough Australian to know.
So there is I have to assume that there is sort of a cultural aspect to this.
Yes, which I don't completely understand, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, who knew that Spinal Tap, right? Rob Reiner's, you know, when I saw that movie, I hated it, but it has set the trend for this comedy documentary type style that has just permeated the entire era that we live in right now, right? You're totally right. It is The Office. So going back to my initial question, what did you what did you think?
You know, honestly, well, and just to go back to what you said before, this is labeled by our research department, Wikipedia. This is labeled as a rockumentary.
Yeah, I didn't read that, but
it actually does say that, which is defined as a documentary about rock music or its musicians.
Which is Spinal Tap.
Right, which is interesting, again, because you've taken that thing and you've said, okay, our celebrity here is a bunch of, what do we want to say, 8-year-olds?
Yeah.
8 or 9, maybe? They don't, I imagine sometime during the series they might list. You know what, honestly, I loved this show. I thought it was hilarious.
Yes, and how many episodes did you watch?
Well, okay, so I watched the 2. There's sort of 2 pieces to it.
Yes.
Okay, much like, and we've seen this with a bunch of kids shows, where there'll be like a 30-minute slot. There'll be 2 short stories in that slot. I thought it was great. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was very realistic. Now, obviously, the kids are extremely articulate.
Yes,
for their age. And
I don't know where they found these children, but my goodness, they can pull. I mean, what are they doing? I really don't know.
They're really good. I mean, they really convince you that they are genuine, and yet they don't talk like adults. They still have sort of a kid mindset.
Yeah.
But they have an adult level of sort of delivery of dialogue.
Yes.
And yet it was very realistic in terms of sort of the shenanigans that kids get into, the sort of goofiness that appears on the playground, the interaction with teachers, that sort of thing.
Yep.
And, I thought it was really well done. We've seen this with a number of shows in that the authority figure is sometimes neutered or is sometimes just the kids are running the show. You still have normal authority here. You have a teacher. She actually busts kids. And, yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, so it's a very, very, very shiny package. The children are amazing actors and actresses. I don't know where they're going to go with these kids. I was like, I hope these kids can remain the same forever.
Right.
And we're probably going to follow them for a couple of more seasons. There's nothing like it, for sure. Here is my issue with the show. I'm not sure it's for kids. That was my biggest issue because I sat down and I watched 2 more episodes. It's like, Netflix popcorn, right? I mean, I was literally, that first episode is so solid. I was laughing out loud, right? I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was so good and yet really funny to me. And my litmus test is to sit down with, say, Kayleen and say, do you enjoy this show? Because this show's kind of about you. I don't think she... So going back to one of the plot lines, the first episode is about a kid who's really impulsive, right? And he's biting other kids.
Right.
This is something that Kayleen does deal with. There are kids that are just impulsive. They hit. They don't know why they hit. They just have to hit, right? Or I've got a bite, and I'm going to bite. And he's like talking about biting juicy little fingers and stuff like that. I couldn't resist.
Right.
I have to bite, right?
Right.
And I like the lesson there as well. Is like, yep, there are kids that are just like that. Probably not at his age group, but for sure in kindergarten, you're dealing with impulsive issues. Is there something for Kayleen to learn there? Like, would she say, wow, I'm really digging on this, and this is how they dealt with it? Because the way they deal with it is, he's a biter, but we accept him because he is a biter. Right? That's kind of the resolve there. And there's a lot of comedy involved in getting to that resolve. I mean, it's hilarious. Right?
Right. And he has his own little discipline corner. Like, he gets disciplined, apparently, so often that he has his own corner.
Rorys Chair.
Rorys Chair, which has a label on the wall.
Yeah, it says Rorys Chair.
Yeah.
Right? Which for you and I is hilarious.
That sequence in and of itself was hilarious in that he's sitting on this chair. He's a very social child, so that's torture for him. And after a while, they show him, he's lying on the floor with the chair up on the air on his feet. He's facing the other way. I mean, he's just, which I get. I mean, that to me is vintage realism.
Sure.
To say, when you put a kid on a chair that's got a little bit of energy and hates to be alone, they just go bananas.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of remorse as well. Like, he's sympathetic to it, and he's ultimately very happy when he realizes that the girl that he bit, which I wish I remember her name at this point, is actually showing that she still cares for him, even though he has bit her, right?
Correct.
And he is happy that he's like, okay, so that relationship's not completely damaged, right? There's a lot of depth to the show, right? The second episode takes place with a kid who has a lack of confidence, right? And they have like dress up day where he comes dressed up as a hero and he can kind of change who he is, right? But that one's a little bit a weaker episode. It's funny. There's a lot of sight gags involved in it. But it kind of ends on a weak note that he doesn't really overcome his fears. But I guess we could say is that coming as a hero persona is not ultimately going to change who you are on the inside.
Well, and I guess I like that, though, because how often have we seen these shows where, you have, I think, do we not have this in Ponies, maybe? Or I'm trying to think. There was another show that we watched where the character has some phobia or
Right.
some anxiety issue, and all of a sudden, 11 minutes later, it's all resolved.
Yeah, that happened on Ponies.
Yeah, and you just kind of go. A more realistic thing is, yeah, kids who have insecurity issues
Will
are not
always
going to
have insecurity issues.
well, not that they're always going to, but
Right.
if they overcome them, it's going to take more than dressing up in a costume one time for them suddenly to become the leader of the class. I like that.
Yeah.
I really do, because you sort of say, hey, yeah, this kid is a little quirky, and he's going to stay a little quirky for a while. It could take him a couple of years to sort of work out some of these issues that he has. That's probably more realistic. But back to your point about, who this is for, it is a good question. I guess, yeah, that is a thing where you sort of say, is this about... I mean, it's a children's show, I guess, in that you would say, okay, if we're going to make a kids show, we're going to make it about kids. Are there adult shows that are about kids? That are specifically about kids? I guess there aren't.
There aren't, except for this one.
You think this is... I mean...
Well, okay, and can I say maybe the Muppets? Because the Muppets is taking the same angle here as well, but this does it way better than the Muppets.
Yeah.
And the editing on this show is far superior to the Muppets.
Oh, you're banging on my Muppets again.
I'm sorry, but the editing on this,
the
I mean, they have to do multiple takes of these kids, right? The jock girl, when they do her sports gig and she does that smile and little ting in her teeth, right? Like the
she's doing endorsements and
she
stuff
does
like
the endorsements. That
Yeah.
must have been. They had to do that
That's hilarious.
multiple times to get that just right.
I don't know. These may be better actors and actresses than adults. I mean,
It boggles my mind because usually it's like, okay, the kid executed the Disney line, or the Disney style would have been he said the line, right? How many times have you sat down and watched a Disney episode where the kids are, okay, I hit the button, he said his line, A, B, down the line, each kid, A, B, C, line, right? It's just executed. You're right. This is completely natural. Yes, I love this show. My only issue with it is, would it really hold the attention of my children? Right? Would they get it?
Right. And where do you go with this show? Do you tire of sort of the playground shenanigans?
Well, that was the other thing that was interesting, is that this is a character-based show. They're not dealing with an outside challenge yet. They're dealing with themselves, and the other children are challenged by the characters themselves, right? So
Yeah.
I'm imagining like they've got a whole good season of like, hey, here's this kid's quirk, and here how all the other kids deal with this kid's quirk.
Right. And can you expand beyond? I guess we'd have to watch more episodes to sort of see, okay, are they going to expand back into the classroom? Are they going to go on field trips? Are they going to,
Yeah.
go on to the next grade? Are they going to add more, they going to add some new kids, that sort of thing? Because the hard part with shooting a show that is supposed to be about real life is that real life is dull sometimes.
Yeah.
It just is. Sometimes the kids, and as a teacher, that sort of thing, and you watch kids in the elementary level, sometimes kids go outside to the playground and they just play. They just swing on the swings, they just kick a ball around, they play tag, they're on the monkey bars, and that's it.
They do that throughout this entire show, too. It's crazy.
I know.
Like,
yeah,
they totally capture that as well.
Yeah. They've totally got kids just... Well, I mean, it's probably easy for them to be natural.
Yeah.
Just
Who
say,
knew, right?
Here, kids, here's a jungle gym. Could you just go play on this for a while? The kids go, okay. Really?
Play some jump rope.
Here,
Sure.
play some jumper. Here, go shoot some hoops for a while. And
The hard part
play.
is the line execution while doing all those normal things. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, but they nail it.
I would love to see how it's made on this particular show, because I don't know what they're doing, because it's so... Again, I watched episodes 3 and 4, right? I kept on watching. In fact, I will probably continue to watch because the gags are so good. Like, there's a build-up, because I love The Office, and this is just like it.
It is. Spinal Tap on the playground.
It is. But my biggest issue is I don't know. What's the age group?
Honestly, I think this is kind of one of those things that could be for everybody. And really, again, depending on where they go with this. If they stick to if they try to make it entertainment, which obviously they're going to. They're trying to make this entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
There's always the risk that you're going to get into sort of amplifying situations or manufacturing drama that is not there. But I could see this as being something that both kids and parents could sit down and watch and sort of say, okay, does this happen at your school? Does this resonate with you?
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't it's not like you have to turn this into a, weird, awkward parent-child seminar or something.
That show would never lead you down that road.
Well, but it would certainly provide with scenarios where probably the kid would talk about it sometimes more than the parent.
Mm.
They could say, or you could say, hey, do you have any classmates that remind you of Rory or Atticus or something like that, and they might go, oh yeah, we have so and they bite people, or this person gets in trouble all the time, or whatever. And some of that is just about dialoguing with your kid, just in general.
Which is always what we recommend on this show.
Yeah, because you get to know your kids. You want to get to know your kids' friends.
Yeah.
Which will allow you to make better decisions when your kid gets older.
Oh, nice!
When they want to stay out at night, then you could go, okay, I know who that is.
Little Lunch got us there. That's how good that show is.
It's full circle.
Oh.
All right.
Yes.
You can follow us on Twitter, Parent Mistakes. You can like us on Facebook, Parenting Mistakes. Send us suggestions. Send us comments. Send us love. Lovely parting gifts.
Watch Little Lunch and tell us what you think.
Yeah, watch Little Lunch. Tell us what you think, and answer Dave's question. Is this a kids? I mean, it's billed as a kids show. It's going to be marketed to kids. It's going to be in kid time slots. But is this a kids show?
Yeah.
Based on content, and again, it's clean. It's appropriate for kids. It's just, is this gonna?
And dare I say, watch this before you watch the Muppets. Sorry.
You gotta mail me some Muppet stuff, man. I like Animal, and I like Floyd because he plays the bass, because I play the bass.
I like a bunch of Australian kids.
There you go. I know. I love the language because I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't know either. I'm like, I love it.
Anyway. All right. Well, it's time for a little lunch then, and we are out.